What's up, guys, and welcome back to the Live Younger Longer podcast, where we challenge old narratives about aging, how to unlock human potential, and to step boldly in the life that you were created for. Today's episode, maybe it's going to stretch you a little bit, but it's going to stretch you in the best way possible. Because before we can talk about longevity, vitality, even purpose, we have to honestly talk about our identity, who we are, how you see yourself, not how the world says you are, not what the past says you are, but who you were designed to be. There's a divine blueprint in every single one of us. It's really a spark of God-given genius, resilience, creativity, and power. And when we learn how to see ourselves through that truth, everything changes. How we live, how we age, how we love, how we show up in the world. Honestly, science is catching up to what scripture and ancient wisdom has told us all along. You are not a powerless passenger of your own life, but you're a creator. You were designed with the ability to influence your biology, your health, your energy, your future. In today's conversation, we're going to explore some of the pure human principles, the deeper truths about who you were and who you are at the core, the truths that remind us that you're not broken, not limited, not aging by accident. We are wired with extraordinary capacity, physicality, emotionality, spirituality. And when we start seeing ourselves as a divine, intentional, powerful creation, that's what you are. You're not just here to live differently. We're not supposed to live differently, to age differently, because the moment you reconnect with your God-given divinity, you begin shaping your life from the inside out. So today's invitation is honestly an invitation I hope you accept. I hope you come to this episode with an open mind, an invitation to reclaim who you really are, to remember what's already inside of you and step into the kind of strength, the kind of health, the kind of longevity that only comes when you finally recognize the truth about who you are. So let's get into it, guys. And when I talk about this, we really want to get into it. I'm going to pull a lot of information from a book that I actually tripped on called Pure Human. It's by a guy named Greg Braden, and it's called Pure Human: The Identity, the Hidden Truth of Our Divinity, Power, and Destiny. And when I got into this, I really was thinking about a lot, because in today's world, it almost seems like we're heading off a cliff to where we're merging or bridging technology and biology, right? Like we're really trying to bridge it. And we hear in today's world that AI, all these computer components, things they want to implant into us, it's going to help us, it's going to enhance us, it's going to do all these things to make our life better. But in reality, I think what it's doing, and this book kind of dives deep into that, it's really making us forfeit the God-given abilities that we have in our own life, the ability to create, to imagine, to heal ourselves. There's just how we age, and that's why I wanted to bring this up in today's episode, because it's if we're not careful, we're really heading off a cliff. And in his book, he has a lot of they're called pure human truths. And I pulled a few. There's over 60 in the entire book. We're not going to go through all of them, but we're going to go through a few that I just wanted you to realize the creation that you are, and is not by accident, right? God, we were created through intelligence. And that's what I want to really get into today, because when we recognize that we weren't some mistake, we just didn't happen to form out of nothing. Like, we have chromosomes within us. Specifically, one of them is chromosome 2. Chromosome 2, that's where we get a lot of things within us, like our imagination, our creativity, our empathy, right? Like these things that separate us, our speech, the way we communicate, that separates us from every other living being out there. And what's amazing about chromosome 2 is that it is physically impossible for nature to have created that chromosome, for that bridge to have happened. We had to be designed by intelligence. And that's what's really amazing about that. And actually, he talks about that a little bit. It kind of a sample of genes from chromosome 2 and what they do for us and how they influence our body. So one of them is TBR1, where a fundamental brain development, especially the neocortex that's associated with our capacity for emotion, empathy, and neuron functions. Another one is where it really goes into our bone tissue formation and cell growth throughout the body. There's one part of it called the caretaker gene. Its chief function is tumor suppression. And another part of that is involved in fetal development of our organs. There's so many things within that chromosome that honestly, again, it's impossible. There's no link, there's no bridge. It just showed up in humans, period. And so you have to submit to the fact that we weren't an accident. We were created by intelligence, by an intelligent designer. And when we know that, and if we look at scripture where it says, God created us in his image, we have divine powers within us. And we want to really get into that. So I'm going to talk about a couple of these pure human truths. So the first one, pure human truth number one, for the first time in human history, we're implementing technology that irreversibly changes our bodies on a biological level. And that's the danger we're going through. So if you hear some of these guys out of the World Economic Forum, Klaus and some of these guys, they're part of their great reset plan is to merge that. And I really believe because they want, I believe it's about power and control, because if you can suppress some of these God-given abilities for us, for our free thinking, for our creativity, for our imagination, for a lot of these ways that our bodies are designed to operate through technology, where our body then becomes dependent on that technology, it's going to change the game. And if we're not careful, it will change humans forever. And so we have a decision to make. Honestly, are we going to fall off that cliff, or are we going to really I can't think of the right word, kind of think of protect our divinity, right? That's what's in us. So pure human truth, by 2030, we'll either have awakened the truth of our untapped human potential, or we'll be locked into a society of hybrid humans that has engineered away our powers of creativity, emotion, empathy, and intuition. That's what we're honestly in danger of losing, or those three things, right? Where if we're not careful, we can give up and it just change, because we'll be these hybrid humans, right? That give away the power of creativity, of emotion, of empathy, and intuition. Let's skip down to pure human truth number 4. In any respect, and some of this is going to be really fascinating on how we're created, right? So in many respects, human cells and their specialized neurons are superior in performance and scalability and adaptability to hand-wired computer chips in the limited algorithms of AI. And so we're being conditioned and taught that AI is everything. It's going to change the world. It's going to unlock so many things that we can do that we aren't able to do on a human level. But if you really think about the capacity of our cells and our neurons and our brains and just everything, how we're created, it is so much more powerful than anything that AI can do. Now, AI can pull information, and it can do some really, really fun stuff. I use it, but you have to recognize that nothing will replace the divinity and how we were created and how we were made. And again, our specialized neurons in our human cells, they are far superior in performance, scalability, and adaptability than anything that AI can do. If you go down to pure human truth number 6, divinity is divinity is defined as powers or forces that transcend perceived limitations. So when I talk about divinity throughout this podcast, that's what I really want to get into, and that's what we're really talking about. How it's defined as the powers or the forces that transcend the perceived limitations in us. In the book Think and Grow Rich, it talks all the time about how the only limitations are those we set in our own mind. And you wonder how some people are able to create and invent and imagine and create these lives of these amazing feats, right? And then you get down to understanding the fact that most of the time, those people unlocked the limitations. If you think about Thomas Edison, he had a remarkable way of creation, right? Like he failed at the light bulb over 1,000 times before he did it. In his mind, he recognized that he just figured out 1,000 ways that a light bulb didn't work. But he would sit in rooms where he would meditate and he would create. He would imagine this creation that ended up coming to fruition, right? We use them every day. It changed the world, right? It gave us light, right? Where we didn't have to live by lanterns or fire. Like it was really amazing. But how did he do that? Where was it in his brain to be able to create that kind of stuff? Right? That's what divinity is really all about, and that's what's really in us. Let's skip down to pure human truth number 9. Expressing our own divinity frees us from the fear that keeps us from feeling small, insignificant, and powerless, allowing us to triumph over life challenges. So if you really think about how you want to live your life and how you really want to get into it, don't you want to unlock the powers to help you overcome the challenges? I've talked about this in the past. If you view life and you look at your brain and how it's wired, our subconscious brain literally fires at 9 to the 27th power per second. 9 to the 27th power. I don't even know how to write that number out. I'll be real honest with you, but our subconscious brain is never shutting down, and it's doing that every second, no matter if we're awake, we're asleep, it doesn't matter. And so, again, I've talked about this. If you're wanting a new vehicle and your attitude is, I love a new vehicle, but I can't afford it. You told your subconscious brain you can't do it. You can't. And so your subconscious is literal and obedient. And so it says, okay, you can't. Nothing to figure out here. If you start saying, how can I afford it? Now, all of a sudden, you gave your subconscious brain something to think about, and it's firing at 9 to the 27th power per second, right? So you get to this point where you're sitting there, and all of a sudden, have you ever woke up in the middle of the night with an answer to a problem that you were facing or a challenge in your life? Or again, oh, here's how I can create new money. Here's how I can do something. That's that subconscious brain. You gave it a problem that it needs to figure out, right? And that's the power of what we have inside of us. If you go to number 10, so awakening your divinity begins with the way you think about yourself. And that's why I titled this, right? Like, how do you see yourself? See yourself clearly of who you were created to be, and awakening this divinity that begins with how we view ourselves. If we view ourselves as is weak and insignificant and that we have no purpose, no power, I think honestly that's the biggest problem in today's society, is how those in power want to keep everyone divided and fighting amongst themselves. And if you look at so many people that are out protesting God knows what in today's world, I think it's a lot of these people have no real purpose in their life. So they're trying to find purpose. So they're just globbing on to whatever they feel in the moment that gives them purpose. Because most of the stuff that people are squawking about and complaining about and protesting about, on reality, it makes no sense. Why ever in the world would you want to protest against having better law enforcement and lowering crime rates? Right? Like that's the most common sense thing ever, but yet we have people out there protesting against it. Now, it's not the people living in certain neighborhoods or people that live in high crime areas. They're not protesting it. It's people from the outside looking in saying, oh, I need to find something, some kind of purpose to glob onto, and I'm going to stand on this hill. But in reality, it makes no sense. Who wants to live in a high crime ridden area where you're constantly have to worry about your safety and the safety of those you love, right? It makes no sense. But I believe it's because people don't have purpose in their life. They don't have something they're striving for and really living for and things that want to. So that's what I want to challenge you today. I want you to start thinking about yourself differently, how you really view yourself. So here's some really cool things. So let's go down to 14. It's mathematically impossible that the mutations responsible for our most cherished human qualities, again, including our empathy and intuition, is a result of random processes and lucky biology. When you really get down to the science of how we're created, it's literally mathematically impossible that we just happened, that certain chromosomes on our body just formed. They just appeared. When we were created, when humans were created, they just appeared. There's a reason, guys, why there's always been the missing link, right? That's the biggest hole in evolution. Where's this missing link? They haven't found it. Now, they try to manipulate things and make things sound like it kind of might be, but as science and technology keeps getting better and better, we're able to unlock more, and there's still the missing link because there's not a link. There's not one. We were divinely created by intelligence. So let's go down to 18. This is some of the stuff I thought was fascinating. So the characteristics of if you really look at like Sanskrit, Arabic, and Hebrew, they have numeric equivalents that can be used as interchangeably written texts. So the unique numbers that represent the atomic mass of each of our 4 elements that compose our DNA bases can be added up to total numbers, and then the form of those various are written into ancient root languages. So again, I'm going to repeat that because I know that can be a lot. So the unique numbers that represent our atomic mass of each of our 4 elements that compose our DNA bases, it can be added up to total numbers that form various words written in the ancient root languages. So this is the stuff that I found was just fascinating. So when they took our atomic mass, they did the translation from the numbers into the ancient text. Here's what it says. Pure Human Truth 20 blew my mind. So when we perform the substitutions of the letters for the numeric equivalents from the atomic mass of our DNA, the first layer of code for each cell in our body literally reads as this: God eternal within the body. I want you to think about that. That's literally written when we do the translation from the numeric equivalent to the ancient texts. On every cell of our body, the first layer literally reads God eternal within the body. Again, do you think that just happened by accident? Right? There was some single cell amoeba that continued to evolve, and all of a sudden, these things just happen. And again, we've already covered that's mathematically impossible for some of these changes to have happened. But that literally written on the first layer of code of each cell in our body reads God eternal within the body. It kind of makes you think, a little bit differently about the scripture that reads that we are the temple of the Holy Spirit. Like our bodies are a temple to God, to the Holy Spirit. And when you recognize that literally on every cell in our body is written God eternal within the body, it makes you think a little differently about the power that's within you, who you were created to be. We weren't meant to be on this life to, wake up, go to work, trudge through life, 60, 70 years of our life and die. Like we were each uniquely created. Do you realize out of 8 billion people in the world, there's no one with your fingerprints, no one with your DNA. No, there's no one like you. You are so magnificently, uniquely created. So again, to add on to that, number 21, the statistical odds of the message God eternal within the body forming within our DNA by chance are 0.00042%, telling us that the probability of us carrying a message of such significance is beyond chance. I want you to digest that in every cell of your body is literally written God eternal within the body. How amazing is that? And so going down to 22, when we become discouraged, distracted, or deceived, we simply have forgotten who we are. We need to look no further than the 50 trillion cells within our body to be reminded that we're literally God eternal within the body. 50 trillion cells within our body. And that top layer of code on every one of those cells reads God eternal within the body. So if you're at a point in your life, guys, where you're going through just the ditch of life, right? Like you're going through the mud of life. Like you're trying to, you ever walk through mud? You're right. And like you're just, ugh, right? Like every step is just mind-numbingly hard. But yet when you realize the divinity within you and the ability that you have within you to change your body, like you can really get down to some pretty significant things. And so going back to how, again, like we were created and the limitations that we set, here's something really interesting. Skipping down to 38. The neurons do not know the difference between having a lived experience and watching someone else have the experience. Do you realize that this is why certain things like porn and stuff are so addictive? Because some of these neurons in our brain, they don't know the difference between having lived the experience or watching someone else have it. Our brain fires the same way. So if you're literally making love to your spouse or you're watching some smut on TV, guess what? Your brain doesn't know the difference. It fires some of those same emotions. And that's why we have to be so careful about what we're watching, right? What we're allowing into us, especially as men, we're such visual creatures. I know there's times, something that I looked at or viewed 30 years ago, all of a sudden will just pop in my brain. How does that happen? How do I remember all that? How do all that? But our brain doesn't know the difference between a lived experience or watching someone else have the experience. And so in our brain, some of these micro neurons, it literally, or I'm sorry, some of these mirror neurons, it doesn't know the difference. And so we're getting into this point where, we're storing all this garbage in our head. And that's where some of these algorithms are so insidious, because if you're not careful and looking at what you're watching every day or what you're filling your brain with, there's no there's no wonder why so many people feel like they're just lost their brain in today's world, because all they're consuming is this one thing, right? They're just being fed it over and over and over, where it creates truths in our head that a lot of times aren't truth, but we create these truths in our head. So we go down to number 40, the neural network, or our little brain within the human heart, literally thinks, feels, and experience and remembers independently from the cranial brain. That's why you hear people talk about the brain heart connection and how powerful that is, because our heart, like they talk about this neural network or the little brain inside of our heart, right? It literally thinks, feels, and experience and remembers independently from the brain. That's why when people talk about, say, visualization, right? Visualizing something that you really want in your life, the more we can calm ourselves down and make that head heart connection to where we're seeing it, we're feeling it, right? Maybe you want to go on a vacation on a beach in Fiji, and you have pictures of it, you've researched it, you've seen other people experience it, and all of a sudden you're visualizing it and you're thinking it, and you're like, man, yeah, like you can almost smell the sea air. Right, and you're training yourself of, how do I create that to become a reality? Right? What are the things I need to do? What are the opportunities that are in front of us? What it's 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 really amazing when you start making that head heart connection to create the life that you're looking to create. When we skip down to 45, when it when we witness one person succeed where others have failed, their accomplishment makes a bridge that makes us easier to follow in their footsteps. We witness another person's transcended limitations that we've accepted for ourselves. We must choose either to discount what we've seen, viewing it as unattainable, or to accept what we've seen and shift our belief system to accommodate the new belief. And so this gets into a great easy example is going into Roger Bannister, right? Everyone knows about Roger Bannister. He broke the 4-minute mile. Now, before he did that, right, it was medical said it was impossible. Like if you broke the 4-minute mile, your heart couldn't handle it, it would explode, you would die. Right? Like that was the limitation that was set. So forever people thought it was impossible. People got close, they never did it. Roger Bannister did it. And after he did it, within the next couple of years, over 1,000 people did it. Why did that happen? There was a few people within first couple months because the limitation was broke. We witnessed, we watched someone else do it, so we did it. Right? That's how powerful witnessing and understanding the divinity that's within us, the powers are within us to create. I always looked at life like this. If I was created by intelligent design, right? Like if there was an intelligent desire that created me and is an unlimited God that knows everything, right? Omnipresent, omnipotent, like they know everything. Okay, if that's who I was created to be, and I have this divinity within me, then I have the opportunity to co create my life with the creator of it all, who knows no limitations. And I looked back at my life and I'm thinking, okay, I'm a guy that grew up just kind of fairly normal household. I got married when I was 20. No, just a high school diploma. No formal education. I got a lot of education through life, but no college degree. But just this willingness to always not settle for what everyone else says I'm supposed to do with my life, or what I'm supposed to do, like going and getting a job and just grinding it out. I had a career with AT&T for 10 years. It was mind numbing. It was not my purpose. It was not my what drove me. They paid me to show up. I showed up. It was a great career for a time. I wanted more. I didn't want some employer dictating my standard of living my whole life, but by what they were willing to pay me. I wanted more. And so I went down the entrepreneurial journey. I started my first small business in '02. I was able to leave AT&T in '08 when I was 32. I've been on my own fully since '08. I chose not only to read a lot of books and work on myself personally and read a lot of stories about other people that had created what I wanted, but I also chose my circle of people around me very carefully. Like I choose my friends. And there's times in life that sometimes you need to edit that list, but I chose to start hanging around people that have achieved more than I have. Before I started making 5 figures a month, I was starting to hang around people that was making 5 figures a month. And then when I wanted to upgrade and upgrade and upgrade, I started choosing to hang around people that have done what I did. So I witnessed them doing it, knowing that, okay, if they did it, I can do it. With our current company, and this is why I love the world of affiliate marketing and direct sales, because there's no limits. And so now I'm hanging around people that make big 6 figures a month, some people that do 7 figures a month. Why? Because I want my brain to understand that if they did it, I can do it. Right? There's no limitations because I'm witnessing other people do something in my same field, my same company, my same everything. And that's what I looked at it. I said, okay, if we both all have the same company that backs us, have the same access to the same compensation plan, and have the same products that we can represent to our clients, great. There's one variable. Those are the constants, right? There's one variable. It's me. So why do people join our company and fail, and why do others succeed? It's the individual. It's the decisions they made. And it can be like this in every area of your life. We've heard about people. I have been healed miraculously. When I was young, I was still at AT&T, so I was probably 26, maybe 20. Well, no, I was less than that. I was probably 24. I got diagnosed with colitis, which was inflammation of the colon. I put it off and put it off for years. I had this little pain in my side for a long time, and it'll go away until one day we're getting ready for church. It dropped me to my knees. It hurt so bad. And of course, my wife was very pissed off because I never told her anything about it. And she was like, "We got to go to the doc." And that's what it was. I had really bad inflammation in my colon at a fairly young age. And basically, they said, you're going to take these pills probably the rest of your life, right? To help to keep this under control. I was at AT&T. I'll never forget this. I was at AT&T. My schedule got changed. I had to go lunch really early one day. I hit the break room about 11:45 or 10:45 and in the morning, and the TV was on in the break room, and I was trained by my coworkers never change the channel because at 11, Young and Restless came on and they like to watch it. And so before that, the 700 Club was on. And at the end of their episode, they were just praying for the audience. And I'll never forget, one of the gentlemen said, there's somebody watching that has stomach pain and he's being healed right now. And right when the camera shifted from him, he said specifically colitis. And I was like, "What?" I was like, "Well, God, if that's for me, I claim that, right? Like, I don't wanna be on these pills the rest of my life." From that day forward, I'm 49 now. So for almost last 25 years, never taken a pill, never had a problem, everything was healed. There's things like that that's happened in my life, but I've witnessed other people being healed, right, or healing themselves by visualizing their body as perfect. I have a friend in Arizona that tore up her elbow really, really badly. And for a year, she had this picture on her wall of a perfectly formed elbow. And she looked at it every day and she believed that her body was healing itself. She went back a year later and the doc was actually upset because when she first had her surgery, they put some screws and stuff in her elbow because they said that's the only way to fix it. And he was like, why is this hardware in your elbow? Like your elbow is perfect. You don't need any of this. I've seen these kind of things happen over and over in my life. So I believe, I mean, I confess it almost daily. Like, I am a king in creation from God. I love myself. I love him. Oh, I love him serve first. I love myself and I love serving others. And that you know, no disease, no sickness has any right to my body. That my body's constantly recreating itself. It's constantly fixing itself. We have the ability within us to do that. I'm not discounting doctors. I know there's times you have to go through things, but the divinity that's within us, we have the abilities. We have so much power that we just leave on shelf. I have bookcases over here, right? We just leave them. We don't understand or accept who we are. And that's the whole point of today's episode. I wanted to get to a point where you see yourself differently. You see yourself as a magnificent, unique, wonderful creation that intelligence designed you to be, right? You weren't an accident. All these people that are in the world that struggle with their identity, they just don't see themselves as who they are, who they are created to be. I don't think anybody was created as they were in the womb by accident, right? God knew what he was doing when he created you. And when we accept who we are, we start thinking things differently. Again, when we start witnessing other things, I would think about this when I talk about having your circle of people. Here's one thing that I think everyone needs in your life, especially men. But I think everyone needs it. It reminds me of the story in the Bible where Jesus was teaching in a house and this guy was paralyzed and his friends were trying to get him to Jesus, right? I had 4 friends. And they wanted him to get in front of Jesus so bad to heal him. So they climbed up on the roof. They literally broke open this guy's roof and lowered his friend down there, right? So these 4 guys, they were um like those corner posts, right? The foundation of this guy's life. And it was interesting because Christ said, by their faith, you were healed. He wouldn't have got healed on his own. They had these people around him that believed. So who are the circle of people that you have around you? Are they people that lift you up, that believe in your goals and your dreams and want to help you go after and create this magnificent life that you have within you? Those visions of a life that you may be wishing for or wanting or that you had at one time, but you think that there's no way that you'll ever do it? Or do you have people around you that are like, yeah, let's lock arms and do this. There is a way. You can do it. That uplift you, that help you, right? That help keep you accountable. If you're going down a bad road, that are like, hey, man, like you don't need to be doing that, right? Out of love, because they want to see you succeed, right? There's so many areas and ways that we can do these things, and again, it's so hard when you're by yourself or trying to trudge through this by yourself. But if you have those people around you, there's a reason why forever I've heard the saying that you will be the average of your 5 closest friends. If you hang around a lot of people that go to jail, you're probably going to jail, right? If you hang around people that create that are rich, you'll probably end up rich. right? Like all these different areas. If you hang around a lot of divorced people and you're the only married one, the chances are you probably get divorced, right? So every area of your life, you will be the average. So do you ever look and say, okay, who am I hanging around? Who are these people in my life? Right? Are they people that I strive to be like, that I admire, that I want that stature of life? Or the people that are lower. I know I had to change my friend groups multiple times. Now I still have friends, but like that close group, like I said, those 4 guys that helped their friend get healed. You know, there was times where I started getting financial advice from people that were stuck in jobs they hated and that I was making more money than them. And they were telling me some of the decisions I was making in our business was crazy. And I started thinking like, why am I listening to an advice from people that are living a life that I don't want? I don't want to go back to a job. I don't want to be stuck somewhere that I have no purpose, no meaning, no nothing. I'm just going because they're paying me. I want to be around people that like I love like entrepreneurial mavericks, man. People that are dreamers, people that think big, that don't think in limitations. But that's how we're conditioned. We're conditioned to conform. And it starts all the way back in school, where public education, they tramp down free thinking. They don't want free thinking, right? Hey, and we hear the complaint. They're being taught for the test, right? Conform, learn this, don't ask questions, pass the test. So we're taught that way. And then so what do we get out? We get out, start having these jobs where we conform. All right, let me get a job where someone else tells me what to do every day of my life. I don't have an opinion. I don't think. I don't create. I don't do anything. Right. That's where, if you look at some of the thriving economies versus the suppressive, the thrivings are the entrepreneurial economies, the capitalistic economies. It's not the socialistic or the communist, right? Because government creates nothing. They just take and take. They don't generate revenue. They take revenue. They don't create anything. All right. I heard one of the governors of Pennsylvania the other day say he was almost bragging that their top 2 employers was the federal government and the state government in their state. That's not a good thing. That means their top 2 employers are just taking from everyone else because they're not creating revenue. They're not creating anything. So again, guys, I wanted to challenge you on how you view yourself, and don't give up the divinity that's within you, the powers that are within you. Don't give that up. No matter what they say in the world, don't give it up, right? And we're on that cusp where you hear a lot of people saying that, "Oh, we get these chips implanted in your brain or in this place or this place or this place, and it'll enhance you." No, it'll suppress you, right? There's always a reason behind it. And again, God didn't make a mistake, and the power that's within each one of us, the way our brains work, our hearts work, everything within us, it outperforms every computer out there. We just haven't unlocked it. I challenge you to start unlocking it. Thanks for joining, guys. Can't wait to see you next week. Bye bye.